For most of my life, I felt invisible in my own family. They forgot birthdays, excluded me from trips, and treated me like a guest in my own home. Now they're on the verge of losing the house. And I'm the only one who can save it. I'm Daniel Reyes, 33 years old, born and raised in a modest neighborhood in New Mexico. I'm the youngest of three. My older sister Lena is 4 years older, and my brother Marco is 2 years older. Growing up, our parents weren't abusive. They weren't monsters. But they had favorites. And I wasn't one of them. From early childhood, it was clear Lena and Marco were the stars of the family. Lena was always on stage, school plays, spelling bees, science fairs. Marco was the athlete, track and field, soccer, wrestling. Our parents were always at their games and performances, cheering from the front row, recording every moment. Me? I liked to draw. I liked books. I was quiet and imaginative. My report cards were fine. Not perfect, but decent. But I don't remember anyone hanging them up on the fridge. No one ever came to my school exhibitions. If I cried, I was told I was being dramatic. If I spoke up, I was told to keep my voice down. I remember one birthday, my 10th. I sat at the dining table all afternoon waiting for someone to say, "Happy birthday." No cake. No card. That evening, when I finally said something, my mom said, "Oh, we thought you didn't want to make a fuss." The next week, Marco got a surprise pizza party for winning a middle school basketball tournament. By the time I was in high school, I had stopped trying. I knew who I was in the family dynamic, the quiet one, the soft one, the outsider. I saved my energy for friends and schoolwork. When I got into a state university on a partial scholarship, there was no celebration. No tearful goodbye. My mom helped me pack a bag. My dad gave me a stiff handshake. Lena had a full send-off when she left. Marco had a backyard barbecue. I had silence. College was lonely, but it also became the space where I figured out who I was. I worked nights in the campus cafeteria and weekends as a delivery driver. I studied finance because I wanted security. I wanted control. I wanted a future I didn't have to beg for. There were days I cried in the shower from exhaustion, but I never dropped out. I never called home for money. They wouldn't have answered anyway. Eventually, I got an internship in Phoenix at a mid-size investment firm. I lived in a shared apartment with 3 roommates, 2 of whom didn't even speak English well, but we got by. After the internship, I got hired full-time. Within 3 years, I had my own apartment. Within 6, I was managing my own accounts. By 30, I was made a partner. I had money, a condo, a car, health insurance, a stable life. And not once did my family call to ask how I was doing. The silence was mutual. I only saw them once in the span of a decade, at my grandmother's funeral. Even then, it was awkward. They asked vague questions. My dad made a joke about how I turned out okay after all. Lena asked if I was dating anyone, but it felt forced. I left early and cried in the parking lot before driving back to Phoenix. Then 2 months ago, something changed. I got a text from Lena. "Hey, can we talk? It's important." I stared at the message for an hour. My hands trembled. I almost didn't respond. But I did. She called and explained that my parents were about to lose the house. They had fallen behind on mortgage payments after my dad got injured and couldn't work. The bills piled up. Marco had recently divorced and moved back in. Lena had lost her job due to downsizing. They were drowning. And apparently, I was their last hope. They needed $42,000 to keep the bank from repossessing the home. I drove down to New Mexico the following weekend. I hadn't been home in almost 11 years. The house looked exactly the same. Brown shingles, cracked front steps, the same rusty swing on the porch. But something felt different. Smaller. Quieter. Worn out. When my mom saw me, she burst into tears and hugged me like she hadn't spent the last decade forgetting I existed. My dad didn't say much, just stared at me, then gave me a slow nod and said, "You've changed." I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. Dinner was tense. They acted like everything was fine. Like no time had passed. No apologies. Just small talk. Finally, after we'd finished the casserole, Lena cleared her throat and said, "We didn't know who else to turn to." My dad added, "We raised you. We did our best. Now we need your help." I didn't answer them that night. I stayed in a hotel. The next morning, I drove to the old park I used to go to as a kid. I sat on a bench for over an hour, just thinking. Thinking about how all I ever wanted growing up was to be noticed. To be heard. And now I was the only person who could decide whether they kept their home or lost it forever. Back in Phoenix, I wrote the check. $42,000. I stared at it for days. Then I called Lena. "I'm willing to help," I said. But not without a conversation. A real one. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Okay." A week later, we had a video call, the whole family. Marco actually cried. My dad apologized, a real apology. Not perfect, but honest. He admitted that they didn't know how to raise someone like me. Someone quieter. Someone more emotional. My mom said she regretted not being more present. Lena said she never realized how left out I felt. It wasn't a healing session, but it was something. Something real. So I mailed the check. Not because I owed it to them, but because I owed it to myself. Because I am no longer that forgotten boy sitting at a birthday table alone. I am a man who built a life fr.